Benjamin. Ooh, she switches when he's in town for Benjamin. Gets so sexy when he's around for Benjamin. Oh, you should see the way that she smiles for Benjamin. If she could have it her way, her last name would be Franklin. She loves him.
Well, actually, the Akonic label group is a conglomerate of labels from 4 different genres under one umbrella. And what that is, I have a Latin label called KLOK, African label, you know, which is Akonda. Then I have the US label, which is more hip hop and pop, which is Akonic. And then you have the Caribbean reggae, which is Jamaican. And they're all pretty much up under the one umbrella. It would normally be very unusual because I know majors would never do this. With me, it's a little different because I'm more of a global artist and I do music from 4 different realms, and all those genres are all genres that I am actively in musically. So, but in the mix of that, I'm always looking for artists and talent that I discover that's also amongst all those genres as well. So I wanted to have a platform to be able to release them under it. It was actually a process that was ongoing because I realized when I was established in a major label myself, there was only so many things that I could do. And they was, you know, you couldn't really go on this side or left. You had to stick to one particular genre and they wouldn't let you go left or right. So ultimately I wanted to be in a position as I'm coming out to offer myself the avenue to be able to do different albums, 4 different genres. And the only way to be able to release 4 different albums under 4 different genres was to create 4 different labels. So it made sense. Convict still exists, but that's more of an urban hip hop label, and that's more of a brand than it is a label, you know. Oh man, a lot of it was all planning, you know, getting 3 albums at the same time. You had to plan very well. And then I made sure that all the markets were completely separate from each other so the albums wouldn't bump heads and kind of, you know, confuse each other. But more than anything, it was more so about putting out enough content to where, you know, we can get the basic of the streaming platforms and playlists all in contact. So if there was a hip hop playlist, I want to make sure my music is on there. If there was an Afrobeat playlist, I want to make sure my music is on there. If there was Latin playlist, I want to make sure my music is on there. When it's Caribbean and reggae, I want to make sure my music is on there. So on the way coming back, I wanted to make sure that my presence was felt over the whole streaming platform. The most challenging one out of all of them was the Latin album for sure. It was the funnest one too, though, to record for sure. But I know clearly the challenge hasn't even started yet. The biggest challenge is when I have to perform them live, because now I have to remember everything in Spanish, which is driving me crazy. The biggest challenge was the language, you know, because I speak Spanish from a standpoint of understanding, but some of the words, when you say them slow, it's fine, but when you have to sing them and then sing them fast, it's tough. As a producer, they were actually very, very simple, because that was a good thing. That was the one thing that I came from. As a writer, as a producer, I was already in a position doing songs from different genres. So that one was really easy. It was more from the songwriting aspect that was difficult. What gave me the idea for the Latin album was something that I always wanted to do. Even from the beginning of my career, I wanted to come with a Latin album then. But fortunately, you know, the label saw that I needed to do more hip-hop, R&B, and they didn't think Latin was big enough to waste my time. And they didn't want to waste money trying to promote an African doing Latin. You know? So me, as a businessman, I understood. But I thought to myself, you know, don't worry, one day I'll be able to do it eventually.
These girls want African manna. Said I remind her of the Black Panther.
I kind of chose it because of the fact that it was unrealistic. Because that's how people look at Africa when they see Africa developing for the future, unrealistic. And I wanted it to be as real as possible, so I'm adding to the realization that the concept of what Wakanda is to me the concept of what the future of Africa is to become. So I felt like while that movie was creating such a buzz about Africa being so futuristic, I wanted to ride that as long as I possibly can, because that was the one time where even people that wasn't African saw the potential in what Africa could one day be. So I wanted to keep that mindset going. That's why I wanted to keep it going. But I did it more from an entertainment standpoint and created a parody about it, no more so like the Wakanda the Snake, you know, and made it more, you know, entertaining from a dance floor sexual standpoint. Well, so far it's been very well. You know, it's been the reaction of it is amazing because it's allowed me to now really market from another standpoint, and then from there they demanded to see an album that followed behind it, so it pushed me even more. I give the credit all the movie. I give the credit the movie all the credit for that, because one thing about in America, they believe everything they see on TV. Everything. Like, so when they saw that, most of them think that's Africa for real. You know, but not seeing that could be what Africa is tomorrow, but that actually helped to shape the marketing and the branding of Africa today. Yeah, for me it's a lot easier, because the reason why I say that is because now that people see Africa in a different light, it actually brings them closer, because the light they saw it before pushed them away. And I think that was a fear that was installed in a lot of African Americans and Americans alike as to what Africa is, because before the movie, people saw Africa as a jungle, you know, a place with starving kids and diseases with AIDS, Ebola, everything like that. But then the movie changed, now they forgot about all of that. So that is, you know, brings you a step closer to developing Africa in a better way, in a more positive light. And no, it's not really weird, because the same concept, you know, like Tarzan came from someone white too. And people start thinking that, you know, people actually was in Africa swinging on trees.